In the final cycle before humanity was cast out, they smiled, not out of arrogance, nor policy divergence, but the kind of smile one wears when holding a royal flush at a table full of kings who think the game is chess. The celestial Concord, bloated with tradition and blind in its pride, believed they had outperformed a mere upstart. They had no idea they'd just handed Earth the greatest gift of all: freedom. I, Ambassador Darren Solis, was there when it began, when the Council voted to reject Earth's petition, when Elira Kor stood up, thanked them with a smile, and left, not in defeat, but with quiet victory in her step. That day, the stars shifted. Order in the Grand Chamber. High Counselor Sarana Vela's voice boomed through the crystalline dome of the Galactic. Conquered headquarters, the seven-armed beings. Violet, skin pulsed with patterns of self-importance as she gazed down at the assembled. Representatives, we will now address the matter of Earth's petition for full Concord membership. I shifted in my observation pod, grateful that my position as Ambassador Krill Nova granted me a perfect view of the proceedings. My sensory tendril tingled with anticipation after 300 chronons of watching these humans. I knew the session would be different. The human delegation sat in their designated section, looking oddly relaxed. Trade Minister Elira Kor there. Chief Representative was actually smiling. Who smiles during a council judgment? These humans apparently the council has reviewed. Earth's petition extensively. Vexar continued, her primary arms gesturing dramatically. We have found their civilization wanting. A murmur rippled through the chamber. I noticed several of my fellow ambassadors exchanging knowing glances. The council's decision had been inevitable. Really, humans were too unpredictable, too innovative, too dangerous. Would the council care to elaborate on their findings? Trade Minister. Calloway's voice carried clearly, still maintaining that irritating smile the casual tone made. Sarana Vela's skin pattern shift to a deeper purple. Gladly, the High Counselor practically purred. Earth's technological advancement rate exceeds acceptable parameters. Your species developed faster than light travel, or mere decades after achieving spaceflight. This pace is concerning. Calloway raised an eyebrow. I believe the word you're looking for is impressive. Several gasps echoed through the chamber. I felt my own tendrils curl in shock. No one spoke to the High Counselor that way. Furthermore, Vexar continued, clearly annoyed. Your species displays alarming levels of adaptability and but military potential. The Council cannot risk admitting a potentially destabilizing force into our ranks. I watched as Council member Zex Farah, known for her moderate views, shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps we should consider. She began. The decision is final. Sarana Vela cut her off. Earth's Ishan is rejected. Moreover, the Council hereby restricts Earth's expansion to their current colonial holdings. Any attempt to establish new colonies or trading posts will be viewed as an act of aggression. The chamber erupted in surprise chatter. This was more than a simple rejection. It was practically a containment order. I focused my attention on the human delegation, expecting outrage, protest, perhaps even threats. Instead, trade. Minister. Calloway laughed. She actually laughed, High Counselor. Calloway said, standing smoothly. Thank you for this enlightening session. Earth appreciates your candid assessment. She paused. That smile growing wider. We hereby withdraw all diplomatic presence from Concord space effective immediately. You what? Vex's skin patterns froze in confusion. Oh, and one more thing. Calloway added, already walking toward the exit with her team. You might want to check your trading algorithms. I have a feeling they're about to get very interesting. As the human delegation departed, I noticed something that sent a chill through my neural network. They weren't walking like rejected petitioners. They were walking like people who had just won a game. No one else knew they were playing beaks. Tara recovered quickly, her skin pulsing with authority. Let the record show that. Earth has chosen isolation. They will learn the cost of defying. Concord wisdom, but as I watched Council Member Zix, F discreetly checking market projections on her data pad, I wondered who would be learning what lessons the human response had been too prepared, too confident, in 300 chronons of diplomatic observation. I had learned one crucial thing about humans. They were always planning something and judging by trade. Minister. Calloway's smile. This plan had been in motion long before today's rejection. I activated my private Riest order, speaking softly. Note, recommend immediate review of all human trading patterns for the past 5 chronons. Something tells me we've missed something obvious, and knowing humans, by the time we figure it out, it will be far too late. The council session continued, moving on to other matters, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we had just witnessed the opening move in a game whose rules we didn't understand. Humans had a saying about pride coming before a fall. I had a feeling the council was about to learn exactly what that meant to the next 10. Chronons proved my worst fears right as an ambassador tasked with monitoring human activity. I watched the pieces fall into place with growing dread, but trying to explain it to the council, that was like trying to teach a Zion slug quantum physics. Ambassador Darin Solas, your concerns are noted, but hardly warranted. High Counselor Vexar dismissed my latest report with a wave of her third arm. The humans are simply posturing. Their withdrawal from Concord space is nothing more than a symbolic withdrawal. I projected my latest findings onto the Hall of Concordance's main display. With respect, High Counselor, look at these trading patterns in the past 3 chronons alone. Human corporations have cancelled 90% of their contracts with Concord Worlds. But here's the interesting part. They're not stopping trade, they're rerouting it. Council Member Zix F leaned forward, her crystalline eyes focusing on the data streams through the outer rim worlds. But those systems are barely developed. Were barely developed. I corrected. Something changed about 2 chronons ago. Suddenly these supposedly primitive worlds have state-of-the-art spaceports, standardized trading protocols, and the display shifted to show a massive space station orbiting a previously unremarkable planet in the outer rim. Its design was unlike anything in space, all clean lines and efficient. Beauty. And it was enormous. When did they build this? Vexar demanded, her skin pattern showing the first signs of genuine concern. That's just it, I said. According to our intelligence, this station went from initial construction to full operation in under 60 days. The chamber erupted in dismissive laughter. Impossible, shouted one of the junior counselors. Such a structure would take at least 3 chronons to complete. Unless Zixa interrupted, her voice thoughtful. Unless they had been preparing the components in secret, storing them in seemingly harmless cargo containers across multiple systems, waiting for the right moment, like rejection from the council. I finished. The laughter died quickly. There's more. I continued. Remember trade. Minister, Calloway's comment about our trading algorithms. Look at these. Market projections. The display filled with complex economic models. Most council members' eyes glazed over. But Zix F cursed softly. They've created a parallel economy. All those years of studying our trading systems, they weren't learning to join them. I said they were learning to compete with them. And now they're offering better rates, faster shipping, and fewer restrictions to any world willing to trade outside. Concord jurisdiction. Saranavela's skin had turned an alarming shade of deep purple. This is unacceptable. We must show them the consequences of such. Policy divergence. I propose immediate sanctions already implemented. A new voice called out. Junior, Ambassador, Rex. Wendell hurried into the chamber, looking flustered. The humans. They're laughing at our sanctions, literally. Their official response was a video of their trade. Ministry staff having what they call a party, celebrating with something called Stellar Nectar. They're treating it like a game. I accessed the video feed, and sure enough, there was. Bryn. Calloway raising a glass with her team to the council, she toasted that same knowing smile on her face. Thanks for giving us exactly what we wanted. What they wanted. Saranavela's voice had risen several octaves. This is absurd. No species wants isolation unless... I said slowly, the realization hitting me. Unless isolation from us was exactly what they needed to build something new, something better. The chamber fell silent as another report flashed across the display. More trading posts appearing across the outer rim, more worlds signing exclusive deals with human corporations, and most alarming of all, a steady stream of our own citizens requesting travel visas to human space. They're not isolating themselves, Zix. F whispered. They're isolating us. I watched the council members finally beginning to grasp the magnitude of what was happening. We had rejected humanity from our carefully controlled, tradition-bound society, and in response, they had simply shrugged, smiled, and built their own High Counselor. I said, my tendrils curling with resignation. I believe we may have catastrophically misread the situation. The humans didn't want to join our empire. They wanted permission to start their own, as if to punctuate my point. Another alert flashed across the display, 3 more. Outer. Rim Worlds had just announced their intention to formally align with what they were calling the human. Cooperative, the Hall of Concordance erupted into chaos, but somewhere in the back of my mind, I could still hear Elira Cor's laughter, and for the first time in my diplomatic career, I understood exactly what the humans meant by the phrase "who's laughing now," recording date Cronin 47 after. Concord rejection. Ambassador status report, priority level red, submitted by Ambassador Darin Solus. The humans have a saying, success is the best response at first. I thought it was just another one of their quirky expressions now. I understand they were giving us a warning. We were too arrogant to hear the human. Cooperative, trade, network expanded faster than a quantum cascade reaction within just 10 chronons. They had established over 300 trading posts across the outer rim. But it wasn't just the speed that worried us. It was the efficiency. Take the Nexus, hub at Proxima Kentu, when trade. Minister Calloway unveiled it. Even our most seasoned economists couldn't believe the throughput numbers. The station processed more cargo in a day than our biggest ports handled in a month. How they had completely redesigned the concept of space. Commerce. Look at this, I explained to the emergency. Concord session displaying footage of the hub's operations. They've eliminated 90% of traditional docking procedures. Ships arrive, automated systems handle the cargo transfer, and they're gone. No paperwork, no bribes, no waiting. Where are the customs inspectors? High Counselor Vexar sputtered. The verification officers, the authorization committees. That's the point. Council member Zix, F said quietly. They're not there. The humans built a system based on what traders actually need, not what bureaucrats want. And that was just the beginning. The colonies that had aligned with the cooperative underwent transformations that defied explanation. Take New Haven, a struggling mining outpost in the Kina sector under Concord rule. They barely produced enough ore to survive 6 months after joining the cooperative. They became the largest exporter of rare earth elements in 3 sectors. It's their technology, I reported, trying to keep the amazement out of my voice. They're not just trading, they're sharing innovations. The display showed scenes from New Haven's recently established Tech Exchange Center. Human engineers worked alongside local specialists, teaching them to use something they called nano-mining drones. Small, efficient machines that could extract ore with minimal environmental impact. The Council's mining corporations were still using massive excavators that destroyed entire mountain ranges. This has to stop, Vexer declared. They're disrupting thousands of kronans of established business practices. That's not the worst part. Junior Ambassador, Junior Envoy Teven Hale interrupted, rushing in with fresh data. They've just announced their latest project, something called the Quantum Unbound Directive. The chamber display lit up with specifications that made my tendrils curl in disbelief. The humans had developed a way to break our monopoly on faster-than-light communication. Not just break it, shatter it completely. It's a network of quantum entanglement relays, Zexa explained, her voice filled with reluctant admiration. Any world can join, the only requirement: open trade policies and fair labor practices. They're building an entirely new communications infrastructure. I added one. We don't control one, we can't monitor one, we can't shut down. The Hall of Concordance erupted in angry shouts and demands for action, but through it all, I noticed Zix F studying the economic projections with an odd expression. Ambassador Darren Solis. She pulled me aside after the session. Have you noticed something strange about their expansion pattern? I had. The cooperative wasn't just growing randomly. Each new addition strengthened their network in specific ways. Manufacturing worlds linked to resourcer planets, connected by efficient trade routes, all supported by their revolutionary technology. They're not just building a trade network. I realized they're building an empire, but not like ours. No, Zixa agreed. They're building something far more dangerous, an empire, where everyone wins. The proof came 3 days later, when the Aryan Federation, one of our oldest member states, announced they were exploring economic opportunities with the cooperative. The same day, human ships delivered their new quantum communication relays to 6 more outer rim worlds in my private quarters that night. I reviewed the latest reports. Innovation hubs springing up across cooperative space joint research projects, producing technologies we had deemed impossible, trade routes growing more efficient by the day. The humans had turned our rejection into the foundation of something unprecedented. They weren't just succeeding, they were rewriting the rules of galactic civilization, and they were doing it with that same infuriating smile. Trade Minister Calloway had worn when she walked out of the Hall of Concordance. My communication panel chimed, speaking of the devil. It was a public broadcast from Calloway herself, announcing the cooperative's latest initiative, free technology sharing, for any world that met their basic humanitarian standards. After all, she said, looking directly into the camera with that knowing smile, a rising tide lifts all ships, even those that tried to sink us. I added a personal note to my official report the Council sought to contain humanity's potential because we feared it would destabilize our carefully ordered galaxy. In doing so, we may have achieved exactly what we sought to prevent. but not in any way we could have predicted. They're not destabilizing the galaxy through conflict or conquest. They're doing it by simply being better than us, and the most terrifying part, they're only just getting started. Emergency. Concord broadcast, security level maximum recorded by Ambassador. Ambassador Darren Solis the Great. Concord chamber, once a symbol of galactic order, now resembles what humans call a circus, not that. I blame my fellow. Representatives, it's hard to maintain dignity when your entire economic system is collapsing around you. 472,000. High Counselor Vexar's voice cracked as she read the latest numbers. 472,000 skilled workers have relocated to cooperative space in the past month. Alone, technically. I added because someone had to. That number doesn't include the entire Zari Engineering Corps who announced their relocation this morning. The chamber's crystalline walls vibrated with Saranavela's shriek of frustration, the Zenari 2, but they built half-hour, advanced computing networks, and now they'll build better ones for the humans, Council member Zixa noted dryly, along with our best quantum physicists, terraforming specialists, and artificial intelligence researchers. The display screens around us told the story in brutal detail. Whole sectors of Council space were experiencing economic downturns. The Proxima trade route, once our busiest commercial corridor, now sat nearly empty. Meanwhile, the human-controlled shipping lanes blazed with constant traffic. Perhaps suggested Junior, Ambassador, Rex, Wendell, we could try sanctioning their new allies, show them the cost of defying conquered authority. The laughter that followed wasn't the amused kind. Several council members had already tried that approach. The results, well, the Aryan Federation. I reported pulling up the relevant data, responded to our sanctions by signing an exclusive mining contract with the cooperative. They're now reporting a 300% increase in production and a 400% rise in worker satisfaction. Worker satisfaction isn't a valid economic metric. Vexar protested. The humans seem to think it is. Zixfire countered along with fair wages, safe working conditions, and something they call profit sharing. Quite revolutionary concepts. Apparently another alert flashed across our screens. The Centon Manufacturing, guild backbone of Council military production, had just announced restructuring talks with cooperative. Representatives know Vexar skin patterns were cycling through colors faster than a malfunctioning hollow display. We cannot allow this. Deploy the fleet containment perimeter. Their trading posts show them the consequences of their actions. The silence that followed was deafening about the fleet. Admiral Porno cleared his throat nervously. We seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties. What kind of difficulties? The kind where half our ships can't leave dock because their Zenari-designed navigation systems are no longer receiving updates, and the other half are running on outdated security protocol calls that the humans apparently cracked 3 Cronons ago. I watched Saranavela sink back into her hover chair, her skin fading to a pale lavender of defeat, but the hits kept coming. New report from the outer rim. RX. Wendell announced the humans have unveiled something called the Haven Accord. They're offering immediate citizenship and relocation assistance to any skilled workers facing political or economic persecution in Concord space. They can't do that, someone shouted. It's against regulations, actually. Zixa consulted her datapad. According to the very laws we use to reject their membership, independent powers are free to set their own immigration policies. Rather ironic, isn't it? The daily economic reports scrolled past on the main display. Concord shipping companies filing for bankruptcy, trading houses closing their doors, even the prestigious Galactic. Academy of Sciences had lost half its faculty to human research institutions. Do you know what the humans call this? I asked the chamber. They call it intellect exodus. Rather apt, considering they're draining us of every brilliant mind we tried to keep under our control. There must be something we can do, BX. Tara pleaded. What about our cultural influence? Our centuries of tradition? Another alert chimed the latest entertainment ratings showed. Concord broadcasts reaching an all-time low, while human media, everything from their music to their ridiculous action movies, was spreading across the galaxy like a viral infection. Well, I noted checking the cultural impact reports. According to this, the most popular song in Concord space is now something called Breaking Free, by a human artist, rather. On the nose. Don't you think the council session devolved into chaos after that? Some called for military action we couldn't execute. Others suggested negotiations from a position of weakness we couldn't hide. A few simply sat there watching their power evaporate like water in a desert. Later, in my private quarters, I received an unofficial transmission from Trade. Minister Calloway. No words, just a video clip of humans celebrating something called New Year's Eve on one of their newly established colonies. Thousands of beings, humans and aliens alike, counting down together, sharing drinks, lighting up the sky with fireworks. I added a final note to my daily report. The council sought to prevent humanity from changing the galaxy. In our arrogance, we never considered that the galaxy might want to be changed. The panic spreading through our chambers isn't just about losing power or profit. It's the terror of realizing that we've become obsolete, and the humans, they're not even trying to surpass us. They're simply building something better and letting us watch our own empire crumble under the weight of its traditional frameworks. Do priority alert. Concord security breach location. Grand Archives reporting officer. Ambassador Krill. Nova, the day the council lost its last shred of relevance, began with an announcement that made my sensory tendrils go numb. Trade Minister Illyra Corps stood on the steps of their new headquarters, a stunning structure on Terra Nova that made our Concord chamber look like a primitive cave dwelling. Today, she declared to an audience of over 50 species, the human cooperative becomes the United Systems Alliance. Our doors are open to all who share our vision of progress, innovation, and freedom. The Hall of Concordance fell into stunned silence as we watched the broadcast. Behind Calloway stood representatives from former Concord worlds, outer rim colonies, and even most shockingly, 3 members of our own high conquered traitors. Serana Vela screeched, her skin turning an unprecedented shade of PW6. F. How could you? Our former council member smiled that infuriating human-like smile. How could I not look at what they've achieved in just 2 chronons? The display shifted to show their latest miracle, the dead world of Proxima B, transformed into a garden paradise through their advanced terraforming technology. What took our best scientists 50 chronons to partially achieve, they had accomplished in less than 1. The terraforming technology alone, Zixa continued, has already restored 12 dead worlds to habitability, and unlike the Council, they share their innovations freely with all member worlds. Freely, Vexer sputtered. Nothing is free. Another cosmic truth you failed to understand. Admiral Arlen Day stepped forward, her Earth fleet insignia gleaming. Some things are worth more when shared. The next announcement hit like a bold quantum torpedo. the Alliance unveiled their planetary restoration initiative, offering free terraforming services to any world willing to leave the Council. The line of applicants formed before Calloway finished speaking. This is economic pressure. Junior Ambassador. Junior Envoy Tivan Hale protested. I corrected, watching the celebrations erupting across former Concord space. This is revolution. The data streams told the story. Alliance worlds reported unprecedented prosperity. Their unified research networks produced innovations daily. Their trade routes hummed with activity, but most importantly, their people were happy. Look at these migration numbers. I reported to what remained of the Council. Even our own bureaucrats are defecting. Last week, the entire Department of Commercial Regulations resigned. They now run a simple trading post-in Alliance space, processing more commerce in a day than they did in a year here. Vexar slumped in her chair as another alert flashed. The Galactic Bank announcing its relocation to Alliance space. How? She whispered. How did they build all this so quickly? Because, came a voice from the entrance. Ambassador Thalia Morn, Earth's last diplomatic contact with us, stood there with an almost pitying expression. We never wanted your empire. We wanted to show the galaxy a better way. You gave us the perfect opportunity when you rejected us. She placed a data crystal on the central podium. Our final diplomatic note. The Alliance extends an open invitation to any Concord world willing to embrace change. No conditions except basic human rights and fair trade practices. You planned this. I realized my tendrils curling in amazement, all of it. Let's just say, she winked, rejection from your Concord was the best thing that ever happened to Earth. Sometimes the greatest success comes from being told no. As she turned to leave, I called after her. Why tell us now? Because she looked back with that trademark human smile. The game's already over. You just didn't know you were playing the Hall of Concordance. Once the seat of galactic power, now felt like a museum of obsolete ideas. Outside the first celebration, fireworks were already lighting up the sky over another world, joining the Alliance in my final report to the nearly empty Concord archives. I wrote the humans thanked us for rejecting them, not out of spite or sarcasm, but genuine gratitude. We forced them to build something new, something better. While we clung to our ancient protocols and rigid hierarchies, they created an empire based on cooperation, innovation, and freedom, and the galaxy, it seems, prefers their way to ours. Postscript. High Counselor Serana Vela was last seen filling out an Alliance citizenship application. Even she knows the future lies with those we tried to exclude. How perfectly human. Final emergency broadcast, security level, absolute recorder, former Ambassador Darin Solis. Note, this may be my last report, not because anything bad has happened. Rather, there's no council left to report to it. Started with what humans call a desperate last stand, though in our case it was more like a desperate last stumble. High Counselor Serana Vela, in what history will surely record as the greatest miscalculation since telling humans they couldn't join our club, decided to launch what remained of the Council. Fleet against the Alliance's main trading. Hubwek show them the price of policy divergence. She declared to our nearly empty chamber, once we disable their precious trade routes, the galaxy will remember why the Council ruled for 10,000 chronons. I tried pointing out several key problems with this plan, like the fact that half our ships couldn't start their engines because the Zanari engineers had taken their access code with them, or that our remaining Crews had an average age of 300 chronons, because all the young officers had joined the Alliance Space Force, but Vela wouldn't listen, that she never did. That's how we got into this mess in the first place, the Council's mighty armada of 37 partially functioning ships dropped out of hyperspace near the new Terra hub. Admiral Arlandace's response. She invited them to dock your ships, look like they need maintenance, she said over an open channel. We'd be happy to help. Our repair facilities are open to all vessels, regardless of political affiliation. Would you like to schedule a service appointment? The transmission left. Vela, so flustered. Her skin pattern started displaying advertisement messages from her last shopping trip. This isn't confrontation, she screeched. Deploy weapons fire. That's when we saw them emerging from what our sensors had dismissed as background radiation. Thousands of ships, not warships, civilian vessels, trading ships, passenger liners, cargo haulers, all Alliance members, all forming a peaceful containment perimeter around our fleet. Fun fact trade. Minister, Calloway's voice came over the comms while you were busy building dreadnoughts. We were building relationships. Would you like to know how many of your former allies are represented in this fleet? The numbers appeared on our screens. 7,000 ships from over 300 worlds, including, I noted with amusement, 6 luxury yachts registered to Council members who'd already defected. This is your last chance. Admiral, Chen announced, power down your weapons and accept our offer of assistance, or what? Vela demanded. You'll disable us. The laughter that followed from thousands of ships and millions of beings will haunt what remains of my diplomatic career, forever disable you. Bryn. Calloway's face appeared on our main screen. Oh, honey. No, we're going to help you whether you like it or not. That's when they revealed their final card. The real reason they let us come this far from the hub. Central Station. A massive energy pulse swept across space. Our weapon systems didn't just shut down, they transformed. Congratulations. Calloway announced cheerfully. You've just received a complimentary upgrade to Alliance Standard Safety Protocols. Your weapons are now permanently configured, fed for defensive operations. Only consider it our gift to Galactic Peace. You can't do this, Beaks. Tara's skin had turned completely transparent, a sign of ultimate distress in our species. We are the Council. We have ruled for 10,000 chronons, and now you've been upgraded. Chen replied, your ships are safer, your crews are protected, and you're no longer a threat to anyone, including yourselves. You're welcome. The final insult, they sent prayer teams to fix our ship's life support systems for free after all. Calloway noted, we believe everyone deserves to breathe clean air, even those who tried to hinder development, as our fleet hung there completely at their mercy. I received a private message from Ambassador Thalia Morn. Remember how you wondered if we planned all this? The truth is, we planned something much better. We planned to make planning unnecessary. Welcome to the age of cooperation. The revolution ended, not with a bang, but with complimentary maintenance service and an invitation to join the next Alliance Trade Conference back in the Hall of Concordance, watching Vela try to process our total defeat through acts of kindness. I finally understood. Humanity's greatest weapon. It wasn't their technology, their innovation, or even their strategic capability. It was their absolute refusal to be the villains we wanted them to be. They could have outperformed us. Instead, they fixed our ships. They could have outmaneuvered us. Instead, they invited us to join them. They could have taken response. Instead, they sent us thank you notes for inspiring them to build something better. My final official act as ambassador was to submit the Council's unconditional formal transition. The Alliance's response: they rejected it. Formal transition implies defeat. Calloway explained, we prefer to call this an upgrade in management style. Now who wants to learn about participatory democracy, looking around at the former Council members eagerly signing up for Alliance citizenship. I added one last note to my records. The humans had a saying, living well is the best response. But they proved something even more profound. Helping your enemies live better is the greatest victory of all the Council tried to contain. Humanity's potential. Instead, we gave them the perfect opportunity to prove why that was never possible in the first place and report. This is former Ambassador Darren Solas, signing up for my first Alliance trading license. I hear there's good money and irony exports these days.